Can you hear me? Sorry, I muted myself in Zoom, but I guess it muted me all the way across the board. Yes. Thank you for your help. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties there. Seems to be a trend these days. How are you doing?
All right. My camera's in a different spot now, so but I'm looking at this. Yeah, well, I gotta look like this. I can't go straight ahead. Because when I try turning the surface around, it got it to this point because I have to put it behind the bigger monitor because the surface screen is flickering.
Oh, do you have a Surface tablet?
It's a Microsoft Surface for it's a known problem. Even on the hardware, there's a link to Microsoft, and all the fixes don't work, which is what the people online say, other than replacing it. So, and the tech people at Jack Brown Hall don't want to replace it, and I've got to get in line now for the technology.
Yeah, yeah.
So this isn't going to work. See, because if I'm looking at you, I'm not really looking at you. I've got to look like that to look.
I know it's super weird, and I know I've done interviews via Zoom before, and you can't actually make eye contact. You just have to stare at the camera, and the whole thing's really
Well, it was working fine when I had it right in front of me.
Yeah.
Then the screen will flicker all over the place. I can move it. Can I move it down again? Yeah. Well, no, not that I know that I put all that stuff there. All right. Well, nobody else is coming. Is that it? Or are we waiting?
I don't know. I mean, I know we got started a few minutes late. We had some issues,
Right.
Zoom-related issues. So I don't know if that scared some people away, or maybe it's just you and me. But that's okay.
Yesterday I was late for one. This one I was 2 minutes behind, and I thought, oh, they're going to do it again. Jonathan Brooks canceled.
Oh.
Because nobody showed up. And then the one after that, I finally got to the live version of the voice thread. And there were only two of us plus Ron Friedman, who was conducting it. But that one I had signed in, so they knew I was waiting.
Yeah. I had some technical difficulties because I'm not part of the ATI designer team.
Right.
And I didn't realize that I was supposed to log into that account. And then I tried to, and I locked their account for 30 minutes. And so then I freaked out, and that's why I was getting the support call that you heard when you logged in. Maybe I'm not sure if you heard it or not, but
at the tail end of something. Maybe.
Oh, good. So anyway, but here we are. We made it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. Are you using VoiceThread in your course? I know that's not related to this workshop, but
not yet. I may. That's why I finally got to that training. Let's see, is there anything else I want to do to Google, because our 8-year-old and 18-year-old are using it, particularly the 8-year-old.
For Google Classroom?
Yeah.
My 7-year-old is really into that too.
7-year-old, so then you know exactly what it is. Yeah. So I'd like to know a little bit more about it. I was catching up on grading last night, so I'm a little tired today. But otherwise, I'm about where I want to be. I have a couple things to catch up on yet.
Oh, that's pretty good.
This is supposed to tell us about, I wonder why nobody's at this, see? This is the first time you're doing this, and this is supposed to explain what the alley, right?
Yes.
And they wanted me to do a pilot program on it, and I told them no for would have been the fall quarter maybe.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you send that or somebody? Man, I can't remember who sent me the
It
email.
was probably me, and you probably had somebody in your course who was receiving alternate media accommodations, because that was how we picked
Oh,
people.
yes, yes, yes. Oh, yeah,
So,
it was 556. And that student is in, that's the accounting 556 tax 3. That student is in 6:30. In fact, she and I were on a Zoom call yesterday.
okay.
And she's probably got at least one more class that I'm teaching. She probably has more than that to finish the MSA. Yeah. So, yeah, that she has, I don't know what accommodation. On the exams, I have to go for allow her the double time.
Mm-hmm.
So that may would be what triggered it.
Right, right. So that's how we started with the pilot program. Is we
Yeah.
had people who volunteered, and then we just asked people who had students who were receiving alternate media accommodations if they were interested. And some people said yes, and some people said no. And then in light of this big transition, it was requested that we just sort of rip the Band-Aid off and stick it on people's courses. You can ignore it if you want to. You know, I think it's relatively unobtrusive, but if you want to interact with it, it's a pretty cool tool. So,
Okay.
um,
Well, you know, when I first started here, there was one fellow who said, "Well, there's what the rules say, and then there's what we're going to do." And then he had a third explanation. Yeah, exactly.
okay.
That's why. But yeah, I'm the one who's always looked up the rules and said, "Hey, why aren't we following that?"
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Let's go through
Okay. Okay. So
your spiel because I want to understand it. And this
sure.
is being recorded, right? Yeah. All
It is
right.
being recorded, yep. So I'm going to try and keep the background stuff pretty brief, and then we'll go in and we'll take a look at it in like a dummy course that I've made with a few different issues and how you can go through them. And I know
Okay.
I've worked with you on a few different things before. I've done
Right.
transcripts and things for you in the past, so I know you're
Right.
familiar with accessibility and the services we provide, so I won't spend too much time on this. But we do offer a wide variety of support for instructional material creation, along with procurement of accessible products and web accessibility, along with providing assistive technology support for anybody who needs it on campus. So that's that spiel. You can, if you email accessibility@csusb.edu, that will create a ticket for us. It will go to our whole team, and then whoever is the most relevant person will pick it up and get in contact
Now,
with you.
is this ATAC now? Or is this a different?
This is, well, ATAC has sort of evolved. So now we are Accessible Technology Services because we do more than just the assistive technology piece, but ATAC is a piece of that puzzle. So that's the Assistive Technology Center. It's now just ATC. We took out the second A.
Okay.
So they are part of it. So the ATC piece, that is the assistive technology piece, and then the accessible technology piece is the part that supports the accessible technology initiatives, and that is instructional materials, procurement, and web. But we're all one big team.
Yeah, let me understand the difference in accessibility and then what was the other?
Assistive technology. So accessibility is making things accessible so people who use assistive technology, which is like a screen reader, magnifiers, you know, speech to text, anything like that, so they can interact with the documents or whatever other content you're producing. So that's sort of the distinction there.
I think you and I worked on some things together. It was because we had a hearing impaired student.
Right.
You needed a transcript of voice recordings. I don't think it was audio, or it was audio, not video.
It was audio.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's see. If we have a video, could be the same thing. We might need a transcript, right? Of they need closed captioning, right?
Right,
So,
and we do recommend, we caption everything for free. There's no charge associated with it. So even if you don't have a student with an accommodation, we encourage people to caption things, just because it helps a lot of different students with input and just sort of understanding and retention. So we will caption anything. You just have to send us the links to what you want captioned, and we'll take care of it for you. So if you have a YouTube video or you have a different video you've created, just get it to us somehow, and we'll act as the liaison for getting that caption for you. And ITS is currently absorbing that cost.
What if okay, then what if we have the student, I don't know what the politically correct term is now, the vision impaired, right? Okay, they usually have some kind of technology that will read a document, right?
Right, so that's, sorry, go ahead, finish your question.
Yeah, so video, they're able to listen to it. Is there something that gives them the picture, some kind of assistive technology?
There is not within a video. So when you're creating a video, I would just encourage you to sort of talk about what is up there. So if you're doing an equation or you're writing something down, then you can just say it as you're doing it, and that way they have the context.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, when I used to do the audio recordings live in class, because I know I didn't have a video component, I would do that. I'd say, we're looking at slide, so-and-so in the textbook, PowerPoint. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the exact same concept, and that works great. It works great for people who are visually impaired, and it works great with, just like you just said, anybody who's just listening to the audio for whatever reason. So it's just a best practice to try and remember regardless, but especially if you have somebody, you're creating a video that, that somebody who's visually impaired might come across, especially if you're making something and you're going to use it over a few quarters or semesters, and you want to make sure it'll stick regardless of who's in your class. It's usually a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, like I said, I don't understand why more people aren't here.
Well, I appreciate that, and hopefully, maybe the technical difficulties, like I said, or maybe they're busy or burned out, or they missed the email. I don't know. There's so much going on right now.
They're like, well, that's it. They're busy.
Yeah.
And they're like, not that I'm not, but they're like the ostrich, right? If their head's in the ground, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully over, I don't know. It's hard to say anymore. We had a whole rollout plan for Ally, but now everything is, different. So, but regardless, so what Ally is it's basically an accessibility checker for anything you upload into your course. So that's documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, things like that. It's not going to evaluate the accessibility of anything you type directly into Blackboard. It's not going to evaluate multimedia, so those videos and things like that. It doesn't do that yet. That's on their roadmap, but they haven't gotten that far yet. So basically what it is it's just a checker. So you can click those gauges that are in your course, and it'll give you feedback on how accessible the document is and what the lowest hanging fruit, the biggest bang for your buck thing to fix is, and then how to fix it. And I'll show you all of that in a minute. So that's sort of how it works on your side. And then on the student side, they don't see the gauges, they don't see the scores. All they see is this big A next to the uploaded content, and they can click that and they can choose to download that content into a different format. So if they are using primarily a tablet or something, and you've uploaded a PDF or a Word document, and they'd rather look at it in HTML because it's more scalable and it looks better on that type of screen, then Ally will automatically convert it for them. It also can convert things into an MP3, so it can create an audio version, which was great when everybody was commuting. It's not such a strong argument now, but it was really great when everybody was commuting to campus, and a variety of other formats that people can use, so they can choose the best way for them to ingest that content that you've created and upload for them. But they don't see how it's gauged, how accessible it is. But I will say that the more accessible it is, the better those alternate formats are going to be. So if you have a really inaccessible PDF or something like that, when Ally goes to convert it, it's not going to go well. And so the alternate format of that, it's garbage in, garbage out kind of concept. So if it's more accessible, if those gauges are greener, then the alternate formats are going to be better as well. So I think you've seen this already. I guess having it turned on already makes this easier as well. So there's these different colored gauges next to the uploaded content, and you can click them and they will give you an overview of the score, what's wrong with it, how to fix it, and then it will rescore it once you either make the changes with it right directly in Ally or when you upload a copy that has those changes in it. And then, like I said, for the student side, they have this big A here, and then they can select from a variety of different options depending on what their needs are and what works best for them.
What's electronic braille?
So if you have a student who is blind in your course, it will download it and convert it into an electronic braille format so that if they use a braille reader, it'll just allow them to easily use their reader is compatible with that technology.
Well, your introduction was saying this is basically documents now, right? Not audio recordings and not video recordings.
Right, at this point, that's correct, yeah. So the audio and video recordings you can still send to us. We'll still help you with any of that stuff. So it's right now, that's the way that it is, and hopefully that will change at some point. Can you see my Blackboard course here? Okay, so you can see here I've uploaded a variety of different examples. So I've got this one here, I've got one that's just an image, and then I've got the presentation I just gave that before I made the accessibility changes to it and afterward, and then this is a PDF. So if we go to this one, this is the easiest one, I think, to fix and to understand. So if I decide I want to take a look at this and see why I have this red gauge, I can just click on the gauge. And hopefully this isn't going to freak out on me. But it's been sitting there for a while. I might need to refresh. Darn. Okay, well, do you have any questions so far while we wait?
I'm giving you most of them. Yeah. This is, you're actually at a website that you're sharing with me right now. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so let's see if it comes back to life. Oh boy. Oh yes, here we go. Okay, so I've uploaded this picture and this image that I've uploaded, it's missing a description. So that's pretty bad for people who would need a description to understand what's going on, and for people who have metered or low data connections and they just have that red X and the picture won't load. But if you put the metadata in, it would tell you what was in there. So if I want to know what this means, it will tell me what an image description is and explain it. And it will also tell me why it's important. And if I wanted to know, I could also find out how to write a good alt text image. So they're all right there. Now in this case, I have the ability right here to just add my image description. So I can put something like that.
You mentioned that it would also aid the student who has a poor connection, but it doesn't really tell me that here, does it?
It doesn't, no, because this is specifically in the context of accessibility. I'm giving you more of a, universal design type aspect. Right. I think sometimes when we focus so much on students with visual impairments, it's extremely important. It definitely needs to get done, but there are a lot of other people who also can be affected by things. And I think it just helps to contextualize things a little bit. So I can add my description here, and then my score is perfect because there's nothing else I really need to do in this case. So if I look at, my I am bad example here. So what it's saying is I have an image that's missing description again, but I also have other issues. So like if over here, there's the all issues button, and it will tell me the two biggest things wrong with this document, and that are this is missing a description, just like the last one, and also that it doesn't have headings. So again, headings are where you lay out in the document, kind of like a newspaper, heading 1, heading 2, they're in that styles ribbon. And if you don't use those to structure the document, people with visual disabilities, people who have dexterity issues, who need to quickly navigate through a document, people who are just in a hurry, if it's a large document and they want to be able to just select where to go from the navigation pane, headings will allow all those people to do that. And so they're an important accessibility feature. So let's say I decide I want to fix this. So I can download my document, or I can find the original on my computer. So I'm going to download this document. And I'm not sure if you're still going to be able to see the screen. I might have to do a new share, we'll find out. Luckily, since it's just the two of us, it's a little bit less pressure, so that's kind of nice. I'm assuming,
yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
Share again.
Okay, can you see it now?
What you downloaded? No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking at, I think, what was originally on the screen.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
My mistake. Now, can you see
Yeah.
it? Okay. So here you can see it kind of looks like I have headings, but I don't actually. All I did was make this bold and I made the font big, but I didn't actually use my styles ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the places where it looks like there are actually headings in and just turn them into real headings. There's a bunch of other stuff wrong in this document because I use this as other example for other things too, which we don't necessarily have to get in here. But like this, I know is a fake list, so I'm going to use my list features up here, make it look better. And here is where I needed that alt text, and I cheated because I prepared the alt text in advance. But I'm just going to add that in under the edit alt text by the picture. And so now I fixed this up.
Okay, I saw in Word how you put the headings in the bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
What was that below the picture, the alt text?
This?
How did you put in?
I realized when I did that, I went really, really fast. So if you have an image that needs alt text, so sometimes things are purely decorative. They're just there because you want them there, but they don't really enhance the context of what you're talking about, and sometimes they are relevant. So depending on what type of image it is, that tells you whether you need a full description or whether it's just decorative. So you can select the picture, and on this version of Word, there's this option that just says edit alt text. Some of the older ones, it's under format picture and it's buried, but I think everything that's on the campus now has this nice edit alt text option right there when you right click it.
This is a static picture pasted into Word.
Yes. Yeah. I know it looks weird because it looks like a video. It's probably a bad choice.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay. Right.
But I think I was talking about captions in the document, which is why the screenshot's on there. But in any event, you can either, if it's something that describes, is relevant to the context, you would describe it here. If it is just purely decorative, you can just click this box that says mark it as decorative, and then a screen reader would just ignore it. It would know that it's not important. It would skip right over it. It wouldn't worry about it, and you're done.
What would that mean, that it's decorative?
That's just something that doesn't, like if you just put a picture of a flower in here because you thought it was nice and it didn't have anything to do with taxes or whatever you were talking about, then that would be a decorative image. But if it was a picture of the, I don't know, the Constitution or something else that you were talking about and it was relevant to the context, then you would put in an alt description. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So I'm just going to save this as something else so I can find it when I re-upload it, which I have a bunch of examples that I was practicing with. So I've made my changes here. And then I'm going to go back into where we were. Here. And it says here in this right-hand side, upload a version with headings. So I can either drop it in or I can browse. And it was this one right here, and just put it in there. So I'm just replacing it, and I fixed my issues. And now if someone wanted to get this alternate version, it would be of a better quality for them when they did that. So I think in the interest of time, I was going to show you what it sounds like for people when things are more or less accessible, but I don't know if we really need to get into that today. I'll just give you a couple more examples on this side, and then we'll go into the student side and take a look and see what they see.
What's the sounding one? What is that? Because it's is that a audio?
Right. So there's, would you like to hear it? We can do it if you would like to.
Go ahead, because I've used a variety of audio and video over the years.
Okay, great. So here are two different versions of the presentation. One is slightly less accessible, and the reason it's less accessible is it goes back to not having those images with the description, which, you know, those pesky images. And then the other version, it does have the images and it's got a perfect score. So I already downloaded using the alternate formats button, the MP3 version of both of these. So I selected it, I downloaded it, and I think you can probably see it down here in my downloads bar. And I marked down the time so that we don't have to spend too much time listening to it, unless you want to.
That's okay.
So let me just make sure I use the right one.
Just want to see how this works. Yeah.
So, oops. Let me do a new share and go to it on my desktop. Can you still see everything? I hope so.
I'm looking at the, okay, now what am I looking at?
Hopefully.
Screens here, to flip between a whole bunch of different screens.
Okay, how about?
Now I'm looking at your desktop.
Okay, you can see my desktop?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so this version here is the less accessible version. I wouldn't say it's not accessible, but it's less accessible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing it. I'm going to fast forward it to where that first image was, where I didn't add the alt text. And you could see if someone was just listening to this, how it might be a little bit more jarring. You can also hear the voice that it uses and see what you think. So let me just blow this up so I can see where I'm at. Let's go a little bit more forward here.
Give students instant alternate formats. Begin bulleted list with 3 items. Item 1 of 3. Ally generates a variety of alternate formats that students can download for the preferred learning style. Item 2 of 3. Student view does not show accessibility score. Item 3 of 3. The more accessible the content, the better the alternate formats. Begin heading level 1. Blackboard Ally Instructor View. Begin bulleted list with 1 item. Item 1 of 1.
So you can hear how adding that structure in sort of really helps give the context if you're only listening to it. I'm going to move it forward just a little bit so we can get to where those images were, because it does sort of trudge along there. We're almost there. Okay, I'm going to start it right here.
Indicator. Item 2 of 2. Guided remediation. Image without alternative description. Image without alternative description. Begin.
So if you hear that, that was basically those images that I had that were the pictures of the gauges, but I didn't tag them as such. And so since I'm just listening to it, I didn't really get the context. Whereas this one, we'll go a little bit quicker.
Title.
Whoop.
What is Blackboard?
Let me move her forward. Okay.
Item 1 of 3. Ally generates a variety of alternate formats that students can download for the preferred learning style. Item 2 of 3. Student view does not show accessibility score. Item 3 of 3. The more accessible the content, the better the alternate formats. Begin image with description. Click the indicator. Accessibility score for philosopher_statues.jpg is rated at 25%.
So this is my
Read
alt
the
text
feedback.
for this image.
This image is missing an alternative description. Buttons for what this means, and how to write a good description. Improve your file. Add alternative description.
So because it had the alt text, she's able to sort of read it. And then what all that was this right here. It was this. And then this was the alt text that was just read to us. So you can see if someone chose to do that format, it would make a pretty big difference for them, adding in those things and increasing the accessibility of the document.
There was supposed to be a difference in the reading in that MP3. Is that right?
Well, it was what was read. So for the one that was less accessible,
Yeah.
it read the bulleted lists, and then it said this image, no alternative text, image, no alternative text. And then for the second example, it read the bulleted list, and then it said image with the alternative text of, I think something to that effect. And then it read this alternative text that was here that I had added to the.
This is not the instructor using an MP3, but this is the instructor having posted a document or an image, and then it's trying to read it in MP3 for the student.
Correct.
Right? And now it's telling the professor, okay, or the instructor, what's missing here for that student who needs the MP3.
Right. So if your score is perfect or this lighter green high, then it's going to do a really good job regardless of which of these formats you choose. Now, for things like HTML, depending on if you're using assistive technology or not, it might not make that big of a difference. It's going to look pretty much the same. But if you do need those alternate images and they're not there, you're still not going to get them. So it just sort of depends. I just wanted to show how increasing that accessibility score can make a difference for people depending on which format they're using and how this all kind of works.
And again, Ally, is that how you pronounce it?
It's Ally.
Ally, okay. It should be coaching here what needs to be done, right, to fix it.
Right, and that's what these gauges with these step-by-step.
That's what I understand it, but it'll tell me right away, does it look good or bad?
Right.
You got to click in there and it tries to coach you how to fix it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Right, and then if at any point you get stuck or you just get fed up, that's when you can contact us for help.
Okay.
So, and that was the last example I wanted to show you was this PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, so this PDF is an untagged PDF. It's at 5%. And basically, this might be the point where you're like, I have no idea how to do this. This is over my head. I don't have the time for this. This is just too much. This is not adding headings or putting in a simple description. This is some like more aggressive remediation. And at that point, that's when I would encourage you to just reach out to us and let us help you remediate it on your behalf. You know, we understand you're not just going to be able to go in and know how to do this and how to do it well and stuff like that. So at a certain point, I think that's where that support really comes in for the instructors. You can decide if you want to take it on, then that's great. And if you don't, then, you know, that's what we're here for. So that's why I have this example in here, because this is less straightforward if you don't have experience remediating PDFs for accessibility, which most people don't. So,
okay.
But so after you go through, or even before you go through, regardless of whether you go through or not, I'm going to go in as a student now. I'm going to enter my student preview mode here. And I'm going to go over to this content. And you can see they don't see any of those nasty scores or any of that. All they see is this option for the alternate formats.
Okay.
So regardless of how good or bad it is, they'll always have this option, but the quality, like I said, will vary depending on how good it is on the back end. So then they can decide how they want to see it. There's, different options that might be good for different people for different reasons. This one is newer. I thought it was kind of cool. I just saw it today for the first time. If they're the first person to download something in an alternate format, sometimes it can take a minute, sometimes it doesn't. I don't really know why, but it can take, if it's a really big file and it's converting to an MP3, sometimes that can take a couple of minutes. So this is that same presentation, only in an HTML, but the HTML also has like different options, different filters you can put on for reading support, which I thought was pretty interesting, depending on how you prefer to read or intake your information, or if you have a learning disability or something like this, that might be a kind of a handy feature. So I just thought I'd share that with you because I just learned about it today. So anyway, so this is what they'll see. They can choose what they want, or they can just look at it how it comes and ignore this altogether, which I'm sure plenty of people do that too. But at least they have some flexibility and some options in how they're ingesting this information. If there's some reason why one format would be better than another, it sort of gives flexibility to that process.
You showed a document, then a picture basically, and then the third one that was, you're saying a bit challenging, was the PDF.
Yeah, that was this one right here.
Okay.
Oh, it's downloading, but yeah, that was this one. Which, depending on how the PDF is, it might not be that big of a deal, but sometimes they can be a little hairy. So yeah, I showed a document, I showed a PowerPoint, I showed just the picture, and then the PDF. So those are the different types I have uploaded here.
How complicated is that PDF? To create the whatever Ally wants. How complicated is that?
It depends on the quality of the PDF, on the quality of the scan. So it really just sort of depends. But if it's a nice, clean PDF, it's not that hard if you know which buttons to push. So that's just a question of knowing how to do it. I use Adobe DC most of the time, and there is a button that is under tools called Make Accessible, and it kind of walks you through it, and it gives you the first pass of all the major accessibility things that need to be fixed, and that's pretty much it.
You need another special piece of software.
Well, Adobe DC, I mean, that's just the Acrobat reader, right, which I think everybody has on campus. So I don't, it is a separate piece, yes, but I wouldn't necessarily, it's not specialized and it's free for campus. So it's of moderate difficulty as far as knowing how to use it. But it's, it's one of those things that really varies by the PDF. This one actually isn't too bad because it's a clean scan. It's nice and neat, and you can just sort of walk through and quickly do it. But some of them, or if there's a bunch of handwriting or it's a really old, like crinkly copy, those are really, really problematic. So, and they're problematic for anybody. So I wouldn't really recommend uploading those at all if you can find a different version, which I know isn't always possible, but whenever possible, just the cleaner the scan, the better it is for most people, I would think. So do you have any other questions, or is there anything I need to clarify a little bit more? I know I was talking pretty fast sometimes.
That's okay. You were saying that this was basically, we're going to try starting to roll this out. Now the virus has intervened. They're trying to make all of these items that the instructor might put in the course more accessible to a variety of people. Basically.
Correct. Exactly. So this is just a tool to help you do that, and just a simpler way to help you, make your course more friendly to a variety of learners, So Like I said, you can do with it what you will. We're not going to mandate that you use it, but it's, most, I believe, faculty have an obligation to make things compliant whenever they can. So this is just an easier way to get to do that. It's a little bit more independent, and you can sort of work on it at your own pace, and you can decide how and when you want to do it. So it's just there as an option, as a tool for you.
And to see if you really got a problem with something.
That's true too. So if you have some glaring thing, you might want to look at what it is and why it's there, and if there's another way you can facilitate getting that information to your students. Just because if it's a real big problem, then it's probably a problem for anybody, regardless of any underlying disabilities.
Well, thanks for the presentation. Thanks for being my guinea pig here.
Thanks for being my guinea pig.
Because see, as soon as it gets hot, and this is very recent, I started talking with our tech in February before all this, saying, this surface is getting pretty old. Then as soon as, of course, all this hits and we're doing the first department meeting and they're all complaining they don't have the needed technology, I'm saying, well, I got this 4 years ago. As long as it keeps, working, I'm okay. And of course, right after that, it starts this flickering. Because otherwise I'd have the surface. What I do is I move the big monitor out of the way, right? And then I'm just looking straight at the surface. So you and I are like we're looking eye to eye. But now that it's flickering so much, okay, that if I look at that screen, it's going to give me a headache and I can't read it.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I've got to keep them. This is the fix they sent to me. So I got to come back to them again. I've been writing nice emails, a few shorter, longer. This really isn't. Yeah, I've been around. Sooner or later, they got to face them. All I want them right now to do is put me in the queue to fix this.
Yeah.
They don't even have me in the queue right now.
Oh.
So it's going to be problematic because I'm not going to be making eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I can take away from this. No eye contact. My 18-year-old's helping me, with this. And one of the docs we know, he said, well, you're lucky you have him at home. He was trying to set up his Wi-Fi for the house and switch to a new router, which is something we're going to try too. And he said he gave up because he doesn't have an 18-year-old around us.
Yeah.
Somebody younger person with technology. So you have a 7-year-old? Any others?
Oh yeah, I've got a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and I have a 19-year-old who was sent home from Cal State Long Beach and is not very happy about it.
Right.
And then I also actually have a 22-year-old. So I run the whole child development spectrum.
Yeah. We have the 2 with the big gap.
Yeah.
In between. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two on either side of the gap, but it's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate what you've done here, and it kind of alerts me to what the status is.
Yeah.
So I don't have that many things to catch up on yet on this. The various things they've rolled out. I know the students are looking for their grading now.
Yeah. Well,
that's next.
Yeah. Well, let me know, like I said, if you need any support or any help or anything like that. I'm not trying to overwhelm anybody. We were just sort of throwing it out there as an additional option in light of everything that happened. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have prioritized 1 or 2, like I said, they're ignoring. Or 3, they know it's okay. It's not mandatory yet.
Yeah.
This is, right. It's just, we're trying to get this introduced to help you figure out what you've got.
Right. Okay. So now they can sort of be used to its existence, and then maybe over summer or something, they can start poking around in there and figuring it out. And that's fine. That's fine. We don't want to overwhelm anybody any more than they already are. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the help. And they have been putting in my emails well, healthy, and safe.
Yes. Well, thank you. You too.
Yeah. Are they all at home with you now?
No, the 22-year-old's on her own, so she is not here. But the rest of them, yes, they are here.
Yeah.
So very much so.
Yeah, Arliss is a senior in high school, so he really got
Oh,
impacted the way, yeah. And
that's
then
sad.
next year he would be his first year, so he's still going through the application process.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Again, yeah, thanks. Kind of helps me. Today is it's like, okay, every other day it's like, all right, today I'm tired. Then I get my rest. And okay, that was better. Today's one of the tired days, but
I know. I feel your pain. So.
yeah, exactly. Everybody's going through the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really interesting situation. I really had sort of this lofty ideal of what working from home would be, and that's not really
Right.
working out to be the case at all. So.
What's been your biggest challenge with it?
I'm so busy. I think everybody thinks that you have more time, and so you're just available to be at everybody's beck and call, and I'm just
Right.
running from one thing to the next. So that's probably the
Both,
biggest thing.
you mean both from campus and from home?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Especially once they started their distance learning, it's like, okay, I don't know
Right.
how I'm supposed to juggle this, but making it work.
Yeah. Oh, the kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly true. And I live a distance from campus, so that's why I had already gotten the Surface, and I was using that to help prepare for class. And then our department has had these Zoom meetings, so I guess sort of, but yeah, now it's like instead of getting my days where I drive to campus and I get that break, and I get to campus and I'm just interacting with the people. Now I'm at, like you just said, everybody's beck and call, both from campus and from home. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm a commuter too, so I'm used to my hour in the morning to ease in and my hour in the afternoon to ease out. And, oh well, we'll get through it.
Where are you? Where do you live?
I'm in Apple Valley.
Apple Valley. Okay. Apple Valley, like up to 15, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm down North County, San Diego.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a bit of a haul then.
Yeah, well, when we used to be in Lake San Marcos, it was really pretty quick. But then we moved to Carlsbad, and that's made it a little longer.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've been doing it many, many years now. We had a first house, then a second house in Lake San Marcos, and now the third house in Carlsbad, all sequentially, right? They only overlapped when we were trying to sell them. And before my wife and I got married, I had been in Elsinore, then Carlsbad, then we went to Lake San Marcos. So commuting from those distances.
Yeah.
And when I first started, we didn't have the technology that we do now. So that's helped. And I just got a survey from the chair late yesterday, and I kind of penciled up my response, but I'm saying the dean is asking in the business college that the chairs survey their how do they want to approach the fall semester, online, live,
right.
I think a lot of it's going to be driven not by faculty preference. They'll take that into account, but a lot of it's going to be driven by what they're going to have to do with the health situation.
Yeah.
That's going to drive a lot of it.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
We may be sitting where we are now.
We might be. We'll see. We'll see.
I'll let you go. I appreciate. Thanks for doing the presentation. And I miss like bumping into the people, while I'm on campus. Okay, all right. It doesn't have to be long, It's just a very brief interaction. Oh, great. I mean, that's a big thing. It just made, okay, there you go. Can't see it from that's a big thing to me. That's just a big connection that, later is going to be very important, but it was like it passing in the hallway.
Yeah.
So, everybody's picking up on that, I think.
I think so, definitely.
Yeah, that they're missing stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, you take care and let me know if you need anything.
I will.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye.
Bye now.